Hey y'all, Ramdino here, coming at you from South Carolina, where I am just about as far east of the Appalachian Trail and still be on the continent of North America as I can possibly be. Welcome to another Appalachian Trail Thru Hiker update for 2020. I had no idea when I got ready to come out here on this trail that I was risking life and limb for you guys out there. Nothing's too good for my followers and subscribers and even people just visiting this site for the first time. If you're just visiting this site's all about the hiker community and the bloodletting from mosquitoes that you'll get when you go outside. But more importantly, it's about supporting the thru hikers as they go on their track this year in 2020 and years coming up. So let's get on what's going on with the thru hikers right now out there, and the best way that you can support them is go to their channels and their websites and whatnot on social media and support them and give them an attaboy throughout their journey. And you can find their listings and all that in the description section down there with a link to a Google spreadsheet that will take you to all their social media accounts. So let's go ahead and find out what's going on with everybody out there on the trail. So you got Greyhound. He is back on the trail. Got back on at Harpers Ferry about 10 days ago, and he is midway through Pennsylvania. Had some foot issues, but he's changed out those ultras for some oboes, and hopefully he's gone from a neutral drop to a little bit of a drop, and that's going to take care of his issues he's got out there. Chris H90 has crossed into Massachusetts, and he says that the water sources there are getting dry. The seasonal water sources are gone, and the other water sources that are typical throughout the course of the year that are usually good are down to a trickle. And he wants to thank the trail angels that have dropped off water in the Benedict Pond, Beartown Road, and Tyningham Road area. So if you dropped off water up there, and I'm figuring most of that's probably thanks to Munn, then much appreciated to you folks that are doing that up there. Wild, he's in the Front Royal area. Books, Pigeon, Rudy, and Billy, they are also around the Front Royal area, and they have been hiking with Wild in the past so far. So I'm not sure if they're still together or not. Hadn't heard back from them yet. The Londons, they should be in Damascus. They got up with Phoenix at the Boots Off Hostel in Hampton, and they are more than likely still there, or Phoenix is still there, but they are on their way to Damascus, if not already in there. Granger, Slider, and Rock Flipper, they have crossed over into Connecticut. Oso, he is just south of the Vermont line and says it is hot and humid up there and very dry. Dirty Jobs, Punchline, and the rest of that tramley are somewhere around the Paulding, New York area. Screwball and his tramley, they are north of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Smiley, he's in northern Pennsylvania. Dirt Nap is north of Mount Washington. And you may have saw her. She posted a very interesting picture showing us how everybody's supposed to do it on Hike Naked Day. And so I guess if anybody, that's probably the best picture or the best area for somebody to take a picture on Hike Naked Day that I've seen yet. So appreciate that, Dirt Nap. She also says it's been very humid. Mosquitoes are really bad. Yep, you're not alone. Believe me, they're bad down here in the south too, Dirt Nap. She says the temp's been in the high 80s, some thunderstorms. At night, she is just sleeping with a very light covering over her and really sleeping in shorts and a t-shirt. So been very, very hot even up that far north as New Hampshire. Snow White's in Pennsylvania. Gumby is somewhere around the Shanties. Crusoe is with Raptor, and they're saying somewhere around Bear Mountain, New York, and they're saying masks are required there. They also said the Bear Mountain Bridge Hotel in Fort Montgomery is exceptional hiker friendly and reasonably priced. BJ, she took about a week off to be with some families, and she is and some friends, and she is getting back on the trail in the Shanties. Joe Hikes is north of the Triple Crown, and he should be coming into the Shanties shortly. Monk is north of the pre-shelter and sent me a really great pic. I think he actually put this on Instagram too, and he looks just like a monk, a Buddhist monk. So we know exactly how he got his trail name there. Sky King just hiked through Connecticut, and he says the info that he's got is trail angels are around, trailheads are open, and masks are required in the stores up there. He said most shuttles are running. In Cornwall Bridge, Jack has the hitching post in open and is providing shuttle service. However, the Amsel House is closed. The Toy Makers Cafe in Falls Village is open, but not allowing anybody inside, and orders can be taken at the door, but they do have some chairs and picnic tables set out. Jukebox is around Delville, Virginia, and he's currently hiking between 2 mini bubbles. He says he's got about 9 hikers in front, about 20 within 30 miles of them. So he's doing mileage in the low 20s. The drifters, they should be in the Smokies, and any time now if they're not already there. And they indicated that a Sobo by the name of Subway, and Subway has contacted me, and he's only got just a few days to finish his Sobo that he started in 2019. But Subway told him that the Rangers and the Smokies told him there are no rules and they are not going to enforce any of the permit issues. So of course we know there are rules there, but they are, apparently the Rangers are not enforcing folks just because it's so difficult. Still having a hard time getting trying to connect the dots to get to the shelters with your permits, your backcountry permits. There's still no thru hiker permits allowed. Everybody has to have a backcountry permit, and of course the shelters and the privies there are supposedly still closed. Free Walker is past the 500-mile mark, and he and his son and their family should be into the Triple Crown. Off trail, this past since our last update, Mustang Sally and Moose Liver got off the trail due to some injuries, and Lost got off also just due to all the issues he was having up north getting in motels. He said they would not rent rooms without signing an affidavit that he had 14 days quarantine, and he was not willing to do so since he had not done so. So Lost, we appreciate that integrity out there, and I know that's difficult for the folks that are up there. So I know that earlier I'd put out in my last interview, I believe Dirt Nap said she was having trouble as well, but that Trail Angels were kind of taking up the slack and letting people stay in their house and stuff. So we appreciate all those Trail Angels that have done that, and please continue to do the good work. If you do get off, please let me or particularly your followers know that you have gotten off, so we're not just kind of hanging out there. We do care about you. We do want you to have a good experience, but we also want to know when you get off, so frankly, so we don't worry about you. So appreciate those folks letting me know they got off. ATC has released some new information since our last update that they said within the next few weeks they believe that they will likely recommend to hikers that they can go ahead and get back out on the trail and finish their thru hike. Now, that's probably about 10 days old, so they said the next few weeks, so then in the next week to 2 weeks they should be turning everybody loose, as they say. And basically the whole point of that is that they will begin recognizing people's thru hike that did not start until the time when they said that we're letting you hike back again. So not that folks are out there for the recognition or anything from the ATC. If you thru hike and you do it, you're a thru hiker, full stop. But in any case, that is the news I've passed along from the ATC. North Carolina has also imposed new masks rules, so you have to have masks in North Carolina in public places. Our virus is going up, cases are going up. Some of that's to testing, some of it is just going up, and my community had somebody die yesterday. So there are people that are still affected by this, and it doesn't look like it's going away anytime soon. Massachusetts, beginning March 27th, said all travelers arriving have to have been self-quarantined for 14 days. And they say that this guidance will be displayed at posters at service plazas and lodging. So lodging have a poster they're also supposed to post as well. Well, obviously we've changed locations of where we were originally filming from. Unfortunately, my camera in the South Carolina heat overheated and quit recording volume. This ain't exactly a high production video company here, so you know, when you record everything, upload everything, edit everything on one device, your phone, that's what happens. So we're just trying to be real here, folks. Let's go ahead and get back to what we were talking about. So since we have had that little break, I've heard from a few other thru hikers out there and wanted to update you on them. Subway should be summiting on Monday at Springer on his Sobo trip that started in 2019. So Quicksand wasn't the last guy out there. Looks like Subway is going to be the last guy. But he should be summiting on Monday. And then Alcat also got in touch with me, and her, PR, and Hawk, they have made it to New Jersey. So congratulations on crossing another boundary there. And that's just one more step closer, one more state closer to Katahdin. let's go ahead and get back to where we'll pick back up where we left off before, what's going on out there with the different states and their viruses and stuff. And I came across this one post that from Connecticut that really requires a Philadelphia lawyer to understand it. It says, anyone traveling into Connecticut, New York, or New Jersey from a state that has a new daily positive test rate higher than 10 per 100,000 residents, or a state with a 10% or higher positivity rate over a 7-day rolling average, are directed to self-quarantine for a 14-day period from the time of last contact within the identified state. Now, if you can figure that out, you let me know. That is just another example of how difficult and how much it varies from state to state out there. One of the frequently asked questions on the Connecticut site was, how is this going to be enforced? And they indicate this is an advisory. And we're strongly urging visitors to Connecticut to take this step. It will be up to individuals to abide by the advisory. In other words, there is no enforcement other than individual enforcement. So keep that in mind. Vermont says that you have to self-certify. In other words, you have to self-certify in writing that you have quarantined at home for 14 days, or you can do it for only 7 days if you provide a negative COVID test within the past 72 hours. So 3 days before you get up there to Vermont, make sure you bring your test kit or your test with you, showing that and then you'll only have to quarantine for 7 days. And it also says if you're arriving by car or public transports, like a plane or a bus, that you need to quarantine. It doesn't say anything about arriving by foot. So I'm certainly not saying that you should circumvent the spirit of the advisory or the spirit of the law, depending on what state you're in, or the governor's order, depending on what state you're in, and you need to keep up with those. New Hampshire says that you need to have either New Hampshire's driver's license or a signed document from each guest attesting that all the persons staying at that lodging facility remained at home for at least 14 days before arriving in New Hampshire, only going out for essential items. So that's what New Hampshire says. And then Maine says in order to travel to Maine legally as of June 26, all lodging campgrounds can serve out-of-state visitors if they have a copy of that hiker's or visitors certificate of compliance that includes a negative COVID-19 test taken no longer than 72 hours prior to arriving in the state in order to forego the 14-day quarantine. So that's what Maine says. So it's still a minefield to try to navigate out there. Nowhere have I seen anybody. They talk a lot about public transport, coming in by car, bus, plane, train, what have you. I hadn't seen anybody talk about coming in by boots or trail runners or feet or any of that. So again, take that as you will. So other things that are going on, the Great Smoky Mountains, still difficult to get a backcountry permit to where it would line up. It's just not happening. There's no thru hiker permits right now. You still got to get a backcountry permit, and it's hard to get them to line up because all the shelter spaces are full. They're not letting you use the shelters. You have to only stay around the shelter area. However, people are still using the shelters up there. I did hear back from one of thru hiker, and I believe that was Subway, and he indicated that the rangers told him that they were not going to be checking people's registration. They weren't going to be enforcing any of that. So just keep that in mind. If you can't get a registration, I'm not saying circumvent the law again, but the rangers are not up there enforcing that according to what Subway said. The drifters have indicated that the fire tower at Albert Mountain is still locked up, and they also stayed in Franklin and indicated that Zen from Gooders Grove indicated that there had been a spike in COVID-19 cases there in Franklin. Now, so what has the Appalachian Trail put out? Well, the Appalachian Trail has put out that the volunteers have been given the green light to resume trail maintenance following guidelines offered by the National Park Service and the ATC. So they still advise all campers to avoid using shelters and privies along the trail. All the shelters and privies are closed by their respective land management agencies and maintainers have been asked to postpone cleaning those structures. So they are going to turn the maintainers loose, like we had indicated earlier. What they are going to do is, they did say that in the next couple of weeks they're going to be allowing people to get back out on, or allowing people to get back out on the trail, or rather recognizing people that start their thru hike or continue their thru hike after they give the go-ahead. And one of those things, prerequisites, was they wanted to give the trail maintainers time to get out there and do some trail maintenance before they got out there. So as of today, this morning, they have done that. They have indicated the trail maintainers are going to be getting back out on the trail. So hopefully that just means that shortly they are going to be opening up the trail, and or at least recognizing people's thru hike when they get started back, and they're going to give that date sooner rather than later. I would say they would probably give them a week or so in order to do that. North Carolina has also imposed a mask wearing policy in all public places. So if you're in North Carolina and you're in a public place, you have to have a mask on. Bear reports. So we have given bear reports previously, and bears are active now and pretty much up and down the trail. Heard that in the Shanties had a report that they have lots of bears in the Shanties, and while they're not aggressive, they are not scared of hikers either. And also Fingerboard Shelter at mile 1391 in Harriman State Park has been temporarily closed because of the bear activity there. And Jukebox reported in that they had bear activity on the way down to Delville from Tinker Cliffs, which is on the north end of the Triple Crown in Virginia. He says he saw a mother and 3 cubs, and that several section hikers and day hikers indicated to him that they had seen bears and they were active in the area as well. So this is bear season, so pretty much up and down the trail you can just be wary of that. Make sure you're hanging your food, or hanging it's really going to be the best thing. Otherwise you'll have to have some type of bear container, would be advised. So Trail Angels, we've had a lot of Trail Angels that have sent in their information. That is a private list that I'm sending only to thru hikers. So if you're a thru hiker and you want that list of Trail Angels that you can reach out to, and that they have asked to be for folks, hikers, to reach out to them, particularly thru hikers to reach out to them, and they'll be glad to come and help you with shuttles or trail magic or resupply, what have you. I have that list, and if you'll just send me a message through either Instagram or Facebook, or through my email at ramdinoroamingthetrails@gmail.com, I'll be glad to send you that list. You just need to verify that you are in fact a thru hiker. And if you're a Trail Angel and you want to be on that list, if you want to be on that private list, then please let me know, and you can send that information to me as well. All those links are down in the description section. If you want to be on the public list, I do have a public list that is the last thing on the thru hiker list. If you'd like to be there as opposed to being on the private or on both, then I'll be glad to include you there. Just let me know. Need your contact information and what areas that you will be servicing. So Fresh Ground, everybody knows Fresh Ground out there, and he is going to be mainly in the Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina area for the foreseeable future because of all the requirements for quarantines up north. He is not going to get mixed up in that, and he is going to stay down around Virginia, Tennessee, and North Carolina. So glad to have Fresh Ground back out there. I know you folks are. He hopefully, if you're in the Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee area, that you'll meet up with him somewhere. Thanks again to Munn for putting out hundreds of gallons of water on the trail. Munn does a great job of that, and I know the thru hikers out there just greatly appreciate it. I've heard that from several people. Some of them didn't even know who was putting it out there, but they indicated on their social media accounts that they were thankful for that. And then we have a couple new Trail Angels out there. Christine Olson services the area up around New York and Connecticut area from the Paulding Route 22, where it crosses the AT to Cornwall. And she has started doing trail magic and also giving lots of people shuttles. She's slack packing people, so appreciate that, Christine, what you're doing up there for people. And a new one that just reached out to me yesterday, and that was Pineapple on the Trail, and she services Maine. So thanks a lot for that, Pineapple. Looking forward to folks being able to take advantage of that up in Maine. You're our first person in Maine that has reported in as being a trail angel, so want to make sure we include your information for thru hikers out there through the private list. So appreciate all those trail angels and everybody out there. Thanks a lot to the thru hikers that reported back into me and pushed their notifications to me rather than me having to go and find where you're at. That really helps me out. When I put this together every week, shortens that time period, and it just helps me out. So I greatly appreciate that. Folks, that's all we've got. I hope you enjoyed this week. I hope you got a lot of information out of that. There was a lot of things going on with thru hikers, a lot more things coming up. Well, that's it, folks. As always, appreciate you, and we'll see you out here.